Alright everyone, this is Zero Budget Geek, and welcome to the Kickstarter preview of Dark Frontier. Dark Frontier is a competitive science fiction strategy card game for 1 to 4 players. The original Dark Frontier game was a successful Spanish language Kickstarter campaign. What we're going to be reviewing today is the effort for a English language Kickstarter to be created. In this game, you're trying to defeat the other players, and you have a number of ways you can do that. One of the ways that you can do that is by destroying their mothership. Each player will have a mothership in play, which will have a number of structure points. You can attack this ship on your turn, and if you can deplete it all the way down to 0, their ship is destroyed and that player is eliminated from the game. There is also a way to win through non-combat. Some cards will generate colonization points. If you reach 40 colonization points, you will win the game. And lastly, if a player runs out of cards in their decks, they will lose the game. Let's familiarize ourselves with the cards before we get into exactly how to play. The first type of card that you will come across is a faction card. At the beginning of the game, you will choose a faction to play as, and this symbol will show you that you are of that type of faction, and it will tell you the faction. For instance, this is the Tellus faction, and then that's all you really need to know about this card. Next, we have a building card. Now, buildings are important because they generally are your main sources of resources. Up on the top over here, we have a faction symbol, which if it matches your faction, it'll be cheaper to build, as most things are in this game. It'll have certain abilities here. Generally, most buildings will generate resources for you called crystals. And then at the bottom of the card is the number of crystals required to build this building in the first place. Here we have a troop card. These guys you're going to use to attack or defend your colonies. At the top is the name of the card. Again, we have the faction symbol here. In the center of this card is a number of colonization points. These add to your total. If you have 40 colonization points at the beginning of your turn, then you will win the game. Down in the center here, we have the resource in crystals that you need to pay to put this card into play. The number on the left here is the attack, how much damage it does when it attacks your opponents, and then this is its health or defense, and it's how much damage it can take before it is destroyed. Then in the text box here, you will have special abilities that this card can do. Next, we have equipment cards. Like many other cards, we have the name of it up top, the faction that it belongs to, and sometimes they will have structure points, but usually they do not. There is the text that will tell you what the card does, and the resources and crystals that you have to play to put this into play. Equipment cards cannot be played by themselves. They have to be attached to a unit. And lastly, we have reaction cards, just like everything else. Name, faction, you pay its crystal cost, and then you will do the text action, and then the reaction will get discarded. So here we have a typical layout for the game. Here we have our faction symbol to show our opponents which faction we are. Here is our main spaceship that we're trying to defend. Here's a crystal token that you'll be removing and putting onto the ship to show when it has resources to spend or not. You have a colonization marker here. Throughout the game, you'll be putting tokens on it to keep track of how many colonization points you have. Again, once you reach 40 points, you will be able to win the game. Next over here, we have an orders deck. This is going to be a deck of cards that will be full of your buildings, which are your resources, and your reaction cards. Then we have an army deck over here that will be full of mostly your troops and units. And then you have your hand of cards that will be comprised of cards from the 2 different decks. The center area here will be where you'll be playing your buildings as resources, and also your units and equipping them with equipment. An important term in this game is knowing when cards are activated or deactivated. When a card is in its regular upright position, like this building here, it is considered activated. It is active and ready to be used. When you decide to use it, in this case we want to use this headquarters to generate some crystals, we will turn it sideways, and that is considered deactivating it. When you deactivate a card, you get to use its ability. So let's go through a typical turn. The first thing that you would do on your turn is activating all your cards, called the activation phase. So if any cards were deactivated from the prior turn, such as these buildings and this troop, during our activation phase we can put them back into active state, and we simply just turn them 90 degrees into the upright position. Next is your draw phase. During your draw phase, you're going to draw one card from each of your decks. So you're going to draw an orders card, so you'll most likely be getting a resource or a reaction, and you get to draw one card from your army deck, pretty much ensuring that you're going to get some kind of troop. Also during your draw phase, if your ship does not have the crystal marker on it, you will get to put the crystal marker on top of your spaceship. Next we have what is called the spaceship phase, and there's a limited number of things you can do during the spaceship phase. The first thing you can do is you can choose to create buildings. You will pay their crystal cost, and then you'll be able to put it in play. Buildings that come into play always come into play deactivated. Next, during this turn, you can also play reaction cards. Pay the crystal cost and then follow the text and do what it says, and then discard that card. And then lastly, during this phase, you can play equipment cards and attach them to your troops. Note that at this point you cannot play troops, you can just simply upgrade them. Next we have the ranged phase. During this phase, if any of your troops has the ranged ability, you can deactivate them, like this novice soldier who has a rocket launcher. We can deactivate him to do a ranged attack to any opposing troop that has life points. Life points is anything with this number in the lower right hand corner. So again, we deactivate them and then do damage to the opponent's troop, and hopefully killing it in the process. You can also choose to do a ranged attack with your spaceship. If your spaceship has the crystal marker on it, you can remove the crystal marker and announce that you are doing a ranged attack. Each spaceship has a ranged attack value, and you apply that to the target. Next, we have the assault phase. This is when you can use your active troops to attack your opponent's buildings and or spaceship. Simply choose which ones you're going to be attacking with and announce that you are attacking with them and slide them forward. Now, if you're attacking multiple targets, you need to delineate that at this time. So for instance, here we could say these two are attacking this spaceship and this troop by itself is attacking this bunker. You can pretty much attack anything that has structure points. Looking closely at a card, you'll see structure points in the center. So for instance, this bunker has 15 structure points. This spaceship here has 20 structure points. When that is reduced to 0, that card is destroyed. And in the case of the spaceship, if you destroy it, you will be able to win the game. After you select which cards are attacking and what are their targets, then the opponent has the chance to intercept your troops. So if they have any active troops in the field at that time, they can assign them to block or intercept your attacking troops. Now you can have multiple defending troops block a single troop. In this case, in all cases, the troops will deal damage to each other and they may or may not kill each other at that point. Then after your assault phase, you have a hiring phase, and this is pretty open. There's a lot of things you can do. You can hire more troops by playing their crystal cost. You can put more buildings into play. You can play more reactions. You can play equipment cards to equip your guys, and so on. It's a pretty open phase where you can pretty much pay for anything else that you want to pay for that turn. And the last part of your turn is the discard phase. If you have more than 7 cards in your hand, you will have to discard down to 7 cards, and then play passes to the next player. So that's the basic gist of the game. You're going to be building buildings in order to generate more resources, in order to put out some troops so you can attack your opponent, or your troops, remember, they are worth colonization points, which are a path to winning. So you're going to be playing cards, playing resources, building more and more, and attacking your opponent, or maybe just sitting back and defending and trying to gain colonization points. Now, let's go over the victory conditions a little bit more closely one more time. So one of the ways to win the game is through colonization points. Every time you play a troop that matches your faction, you will get a number of colonization points equal to the number in the center here. So for instance, if we are the Tellus faction and we play this novice soldier, we will get 1 colonization point, and we'll put it on our colonization marker there. Now, you can include in your deck troops that are not of your faction. However, the points that you gain from them are temporary. So in this case, if we play this card here, who's actually worth 4 colonization points, we will not put any markers here. It still adds to my total, but if this card gets destroyed, then I will lose those points. Another way to win is to simply attack your opponent's spaceship. They will have a number of structure points, 20 points in this case. Every time you successfully attack and it is not intercepted, you will mark damage off of it. Once the damage equals or exceeds its structure points, it is destroyed and that opponent is removed from the game. So that is the basic overview of Dark Frontier. Now, we've glossed over many details, such as each individual unit has different special abilities that they can do. Sometimes you can activate them to do an effect, sometimes they have a triggered effect, but I'll let you look at the cards and explore that for yourself. What I wanted to do here was give you a basic idea of how this game is and how it's played. So if you want to know more, be sure to be on the lookout for the Kickstarter. When the Kickstarter is live, I will have a link down in the description box for you to check it out, and if this game seems like something for you, go ahead and back it. So guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give me a like down at the bottom and consider subscribing so you can see more videos that I've done. So guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.